Guests were ushered into the bedroom, and no one found it surprising. There, reclining on pillows and silk blankets, a beautiful woman welcomed her visitors, all in line with the fashion of the time. Society gathered around the bed to gossip about others, show off, and admire their gracious hostess, especially since there was plenty to behold. The idea of receiving guests while remaining in bed originated with the boldest woman of the early 17th century, the Marquise de Rambouillet. She was a lively, active, and highly educated individual, and being invited to her salon was considered a privilege. Living in Paris, the Marquise loved hosting social gatherings where aristocrats, wealthy patrons, painters, and poets would mingle. The most exquisite beauties adorned Madame de Rambouillet's drawing room and her bedroom. The Marquise completely remodeled her sizable home, creating several salons, the most famous being the Blue Salon, designated for large receptions. When Madame de Rambouillet planned to gather a dozen or so guests, she would direct them to her enormous bedroom. There, amidst vibrant silks, she engaged in polite conversation. She dressed for such occasions with a casual air, as if she had just woken up. The Marquise had an explanation for her unconventional behavior. She had caught a cold and therefore hesitated to leave her chamber. Indeed, Rambouillet was often cold, and even during the hottest days, fires were lit in her home. Rambouillet was the first, but not the only one. By the 18th century, guests in the bedroom had become a common occurrence. Madame de Pompadour, the favorite of Louis XV, also loved to entertain guests while remaining on her pillows. Gradually, this French custom spread to other countries. The once invisible lives of the nobility were now put on display. It became fashionable to schedule visits for times when the host or hostess was still dressing. By the mid-18th century, many noblewomen allowed guests to witness the lacing of corsets or the pulling up of stockings. In the paintings of that era, such as William Hogarth's The Lady's Boudoir, we see that during the morning preparations of an aristocrat, a dozen people were present, including a flutist and a messenger from the shop. Everything was on display. Sir Winston Churchill, the Prime Minister of England, took it even further. It is known that he enjoyed having conversations while in the bath, this in the 20th century. The French Empress Josephine also received visitors without interrupting her washing. Queen and Stuart turned her morning washing and dressing into a grand spectacle, attended by up to 30 people, each with their own duties. During such leisurely morning routines, it was easy to negotiate with the Queen and request favors. As a result, courtiers competed with one another for the right to attend these events. However, dressing in front of others was a well-known royal privilege. Marie Antoinette often found herself shivering in her grand chambers, waiting for someone to bring her a shirt. Only a lady of a certain rank could deliver clothing to the Queen of France, and if she took her time, the Queen had no choice but to wait, trembling from the cold. There was nothing to be done, such was the etiquette. One of the most famous women known for receiving guests while partially dressed was Madame de Recamier. The fashion of the time was quite frivolous, and the socialite often reclined on a chaise longue. Sometimes, she would wrap herself in a vibrant shawl that highlighted the whiteness of her delicate attire. Crowds of guests would gather, as Juliet was a true queen of hearts, celebrated far beyond the borders of Paris. Napoleon closed her salon several times, but Recamier always managed to revive it. Interestingly, that very chaise longue, which the lovely lady adored, soon bore her name. This type of furniture is now known as a Recamier. Juliet took inspiration from a Greek sofa with a semicircular back. However, the desire to make private life more public sometimes backfired. There is a well-known story about Princess Caroline of Brunswick, who was feeling very unwell after giving birth. She did not leave her chambers for several days, disrupting the usual routine of receiving visitors. The Duchess of Manchester, who had previously visited the princess in the mornings, caused quite a scene outside the young woman's quarters, demanding to be let in. After all, she usually had the right to do so. Surprisingly, the princess had to concede. She received the Duchess while lying in bed, despite still feeling very weak. By the second half of the 19th century, The openness of bedrooms began to fade. Both kings and dukes started to value their personal space more. Making one's toilet a matter of public interest became bad form, though there were exceptions, as we can see. Thus, guests no longer entered the bedroom. They remained at the threshold of the drawing room, respecting the host's right to privacy.